Chapter 7 Meditation 4 Witnessing Your Thoughts. As meditation opens further, people often say, "I'm lost in thought so much of the time. What should I do?" We have learned that the moods of wanting, restlessness, doubting, fear, or aversion will arise and pass, and we can bow to them and acknowledge them as part of the meditation. In the same way, there will be the movement of mind, or the thought factory, I call it, telling stories and spinning out plans, memories, and fantasies. The simple task of meditation is to acknowledge that the thought factory is planning, or remembering, or whatever it is doing this time. Usually, when we acknowledge it with a single word or two, as planning, or whatever, it dissolves. Then you can come back to your next breath. Sometimes we catch ourselves reliving something that happened to us in the past. There's a story told of the holy fool Mullah Nasruddin, who one day went into the bank to cash a check and was asked, "Could you please identify yourself?" So he reached into his pocket and pulled out a small mirror and looked into it and said, "Yep, that is me, all right." That is a lot of what your mind does in meditation. It recapitulates the past. It tells us stories of what happened to us in the past and imagines what will happen in the future. After a while, you can get tired of those stories about the future and the past, but the idea is not to judge them. Instead, try to see that the stories aren't real, that each is a story that we insist on telling ourselves for a variety of reasons, but it is not what is happening in the moment. So we acknowledge the story as remembering or planning and return to the breath. It ultimately does not matter how often you go away or how long your thoughts last, because that is not really very much in your control. What matters is the magic moment when you wake up and realize, "Oh, I have been thinking." Whether it happens 5 seconds or 5 minutes later, that is the moment that makes a difference, because that moment gives you the choice to continue to be lost in thought or to come back again to the present moment. The act of returning is the training for awakening, for living in the present moment in a mindful way. What about stories that repeat themselves over and over again? There are some stories that are like the top 10 tunes in meditation. You're sitting there and the record starts playing, telling the same story over and over again. Generally, if there's a thought that comes back to you over and over again, you can name it for whatever it is, such as planning or remembering. If it keeps coming back, it's often a signal that something wants to be felt or accepted. So if the thought keeps returning again and again, there is maybe a loss that needs to be acknowledged, or a love that wants to be accepted, or some creativity that wants to be recognized and honored in some way. You will also experience what I call creativity attacks, which is to say that when you become quiet, some deeper levels of reflection or understanding or dormant things that want to be expressed or understood will arise. Sometimes you can spend a bit of time with these insights, but it is not a very good habit to form because it is easy to fill the mind. It is more useful to let the mind stay empty, or to just let go of everything, including these powerful insights. There will be a lot of time that you can spend with these insights when you are not meditating. It is natural that these should sometimes arise during meditation, but instead of focusing on them, it is best to remember that you sat with the intention to meditate. You can say to yourself that when the meditation is over, maybe you will think about these ideas some more. But right now, you will continue with your meditation. Thoughts are your associations to things. If you feel an itch, or you hear the sound of the rain, or there is a pain in your knee, those are all direct sensations. That is just an itch, or a sound, or a pain. But then as soon as the pain comes in, you think, I wonder how much longer this will last. Or you hear the rain and you think, gee, I wonder if it is going to rain tomorrow. Or you feel the itch and you say, I didn't think there were any mosquitoes in here. Mosquito. I wonder what is making this itch. First there was the direct sensation, and then there was the thought. When you try to identify your thoughts in meditation, sometimes they will not come into consciousness right away. Or they might become very quiet. But if you wait patiently, all of a sudden a thought will say, gee, it is getting really quiet in here, isn't it? Or they sneak up from behind and pretend they are not really thoughts. You will think things like, there haven't been many thoughts, have there? One problem is that we often tend to identify so directly with our thoughts that sometimes meditation is the first time you might actually be able to listen to this inner stream. After a while, you begin to learn about your own style of thinking. Some people have almost all pictures and very few words. Others have both pictures and words, sometimes synchronized together, or sometimes the pictures will be more memories or dream pictures or other things, while the words will be planning and they'll serve different functions. Some people have almost all words and very rarely have pictures. You will discover that it is possible not only to become aware of the breath or the body sensations or the sounds, but it's also to become aware of this inner stream of images, pictures, and words that for the most part are quite unexamined. One of the key insights in meditation is simply the nature of how your own mind is operating, and that there are possibilities of how you can relate to it. The first thing to do is to simply acknowledge how much time is spent lost in thought. One possible reaction to that is to take it very seriously and believe all of our thoughts and moods and so forth. Generally speaking, that leads to a lot of complexity and suffering. Another possibility is to listen from some place in our hearts that isn't in the mind, a place that listens with a greater sense of spaciousness or wisdom or understanding, and then responds to things rather than being caught up in them. In the fourth meditation session, again find a posture where you can sit comfortably and erect. When we begin, first go back to your breath, using that as the center of your meditation. Really listen to it and see if you can feel its beginning, middle, and end. Is the breath short, long, soft? As you pay attention to the breath, if body sensations, sounds, or moods become quite strong, drop the breath and name them, giving them the same mindful attention you gave to the breath. In addition, during this meditation, we will include the field of thought. So as you follow the breath, if thinking arises and is quite strong and entangles you, whether it appears as a series of pictures or words, or as a memory or planning, then name it as thinking. You might also note it as planning, or remembering. If it is a very charged or strong thought, you may note thinking, and it may continue. If that is so, then you can keep noting it softly, remembering, or planning, until it dissolves, and it will. Then you can go back to the breath. Just be aware of what is present without trying to change it, noticing with a gentle, careful attention. Sometimes people are confused by the naming process. It sometimes seems too hard to name all the feelings and thoughts. Was that a plan or a memory? Is this sadness or sorrow? If it seems too complicated, keep the names very simple. You can either drop them or just note feeling, 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 or thinking, thinking, thinking. The naming is an aid to help us to be simply aware of what is happening. You can use it if it serves you, or if it does not, you can just let your awareness be with whatever is present. By this point in our meditation practice, our awareness has opened from the breath and the posture of the body to include the energies and the physical sensations within us. We have also learned to include the sounds that might arise around us, as well as the thoughts and images and stories that our mind creates. In this way, we open the meditation to all the music of life, to the dance of the energies we experience when we sit. We use the breath in the center of it as a way to still ourselves and become peaceful. Then we use that awareness to meet whatever arises with kindness and acceptance. In this way, whatever comes to us can be part of our meditation.